Hello, welcome to the Augmentation of Man with Kent and Renee Miller, where we are bringing the future.
We're going to talk about today, when I got through meditation, that truth is in the shadows. So what does this mean?
And so part of this, we're going to talk about kind of off the cuff, and part of it is a meditation that we, a channeled lesson that we received this morning.
So as the truth becomes known, comes into the light, look at the truth. Don't deny it. Don't back away from it. Don't mock it. Research it. Stand with the value that you research, but you have to research it. You can't just back away from it and say, no, that's not the truth. We are going to enlighten ourselves with truth coming out in the very near future. And we have to stop and look at things. Don't be overwhelmed with your job, day to day, whatever you're doing, and things of this nature. You've got to look and see where the truth is and then stand by it.
And also, we have to question the media because they have ulterior motives.
Well, all things we have to question.
Right, but just because it comes across on a certain news station does not mean they're portraying all the truth. They may be portraying part of the truth to give their viewers an impression, leave them with an impression of a particular bias they want their viewers to have. And the other thing is that there is outright disinformation that's propagated too. So it is up to all of us to do our own research and find whether or not, prove or disprove whether or not that information is correct.
And biases are based on emotion. So they play on all of our emotions to get their bias through, which we have to really fight hard on going with emotional decisions. And if we want justice to prevail, we have to not use emotion.
And we're going to have a lesson from our guides, a channeled lesson, which we're going to elaborate more on as far as emotional bias in just a minute. So we're going to jump over to a PowerPoint.
Most of these lessons came in today.
And so,
or last night.
They're saying that lies last longer than the truth. And we'll get into that a little bit more. But this lesson starts with truth can only be accepted when the masses are ready to accept it.
The masses, the majority, is ready to accept truth.
And lies rely on emotional setup, which is instant.
Yeah, and much of your legends that go way back start out with truth, and then man manipulates the truth to fit their narrative that they want to put in it. So lies are instant gratification on emotional gratification. Truth takes a lot longer because truth relies on data.
Which is not instant.
Which is not instant.
Mm-hmm. And so they're saying that this is why lies last longer in legend than truth, because it starts out that the general population, one, is not ready to accept the truth. Two, we're probably too lazy to do our own homework to validate or discredit information. And then it goes back to the more you say something, the more that it becomes accepted as a truth, right?
Yeah, truth can be very emotional, very brutal to one person, very depressing to a person, because when you face truth all of a sudden, when you've lived in lies most of your life or fabrications, all of a sudden truth hits you right between the eyes and you're not ready for it.
I have to say too, in our own experience, there's a lot of people who steer away from truth just because it is too negative to really look at and acknowledge.
It's hard to swallow.
It is hard to swallow, and we have to be strong in these times, because with the truth coming out, we're going to have to look at some very hard truths, and that's going to require some resilience, and it's going to require strength. It's going to require our ability to stand up and look at it and not push it back into the background, so that we can bring truth to the surface and have it be a part of our lives instead of pushing it back into the shadows.
Yeah, and truth becomes a little, it's like a spoonful of medicine, dig a little at a time, because we have lived our lives since I guess we could think, in lies and partial truth that we've been told. And now to become in reality of truth is really non-feral on this journey. I mean, it's brutal, it's gloomy, because we have believed our own non-truths
For so long.
long.
Yeah. So it becomes easier. This is what the guides are saying. It becomes easier for humans to lie in a bed of lies than it is for one to face the truth, even one truth. So we have to be strong, and we have to be able to become the real truth seeker and be able to put that energy forward to investigating whether or not that piece of information is correct or is not correct. They are also saying that once one awakens, that you begin to question the lies.
Well, you question because you don't know whether the truth or it's a lie.
Right.
So you begin to question everything. That somebody says something, well, this happened, this was the outcome of such an event, etc. Don't just take it for the truth. If you want to know the truth, if you want to live in the bed of lies, then nobody can change you. You're going to lie down in your own bed, and you'll reap and harvest what you get. But if you start questioning all things, then you'll find out where the truth lies.
It becomes more of, you set out to be the truth seeker, and your intentions are to get to the bottom of it. However, oftentimes those people are labeled as conspiracy theorists, and that may be true in itself, but it may also be that they are conspiracy theorists. So we have to even weigh that as to, is this person truly trying to get to the bottom of it? Are they the truth seeker, or are they chasing rabbit holes perpetually? And so you have to look at the whole picture.
It's up to you to question the process.
Mm-hmm. So even though you have not gotten to the truth, you are questioning the process to gaining the truth of an event. And that is what our guides are telling us. This we have to question.
Well, lies will be maintained, and it's maintained through emotion, because lies are based on emotion.
Or lies are perpetuated through our own emotions.
Yeah,
right?
Truth has to do with data to back the truth up. Lies does not use data or any facts. It only uses emotion.
And that emotional response. We have to really question our emotional responses. And when we automatically have that knee-jerk reaction, is it because we've done our homework and we know what the truth is and we're reacting to the other person's statement that is a non-truth? Or are we reacting based on we've bought into the lie and we're just brainwashed into thinking that we have the truth when we don't? So it gets back to, do I have the supporting data to back up my response to this? And we have to really look at that. So the guides go on to say, if they, humans, do not begin to understand, lies will be maintained through emotion.
So in order to control the masses, we are those in power using the emotions of the people? And when I say the people of the earth, people of this planet, to perpetuate their lies and control over others? That is a question that we asked.
And the answer was, it is not perpetuating their lies, but they are bored with their existence. Therefore, the only truth they have is control over what they cannot see. They will never live in truth. And we're talking about the people who are controlling others.
People in power, the highest of power.
All the way to the top, those that are at the very top of the control pyramid. They will never live in truth. They know that humanity would rather live in lies. And this is profound.
Yeah, humanity has put out the event in themselves that we prefer lies. Lies are more comfortable.
And it's easier. It's easier to accept the same thing that's been passed down, that's been repeated to us, and we're just regurgitating it rather than to really question and to dig deeper. And part of that is the fear of being called a conspiracy theorist.
Look how Galileo was called a conspiracy theorist during this period of time. It wasn't until many, many, many years later that they confirmed his hypothesis was correct. But he was ridiculed and pretty much driven out of almost existence at the time that he made his hypotheses about the planets and the sun.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people out there today that are very educated people who are presenting an opposing view or a different view than what is considered mainstream. And they're being pushed to the side and ostracized. And yet they are very educated in their field and they know what they're talking about. So we have to be able to listen to their point of view. They're not just rattling on without any understanding of the situation.
Going back to those in control, they bought or have money enough to buy anything they want, absolutely anything. So they are no more interested. There's only so many places you can go on this earth, and there's only so many things you can do, and you run out of things except repeating them again. So they said, let's not do this again. This is useless. Let's try to control. Well, as they can try to control, it creates a challenge to them. The more they can try to control, the more challenge they get out of this.
So it becomes a game.
It becomes a game.
And so we're the pawns in the game. And so this question evolved into, do those in control not have any desire to expand their consciousness as a part of moving out of their own boredom? And the answer was, one in each family unit steps outside of their family and does what's right.
Well, what's right in the field of humanity,
Right.
you see? Yeah.
And so basically what the guides were saying this morning is that they have all that they want here on earth. There's no more to be bought. They can buy anything they want. They have everything they want. Control is the only factor left, and it is a challenge to their being to control everything. And so they're calling it an abundant lust or an affluential lust. They're saying disintegration, to break up or destroy, is the only outcome. As humanity wakes up to what's going on, then they lose their control, right?
Well, yeah.
So control is based on humanity being in the dark and accepting the lies.
Right. So as they keep perpetuating the lies themselves, they can control a certain part of humanity.
And realize that our emotional response is often being used against us.
Well, especially when we have the downsides on our humanity, which opens our emotional response, such as floods and wipes out our house or fire, everything like this. Our emotions really are forward in the human being when you lost everything in a fire the day before. Then you're very vulnerable to any lies or any fabrications that come your way.
So to wrap this up, in order for humanity to move forward, we have to move away from our emotional biases concerning truth.
And that's difficult. That is extremely difficult, since those biases have been ingrained in us since almost birth.
Right. And so much of society, it's this pervasive, what we think of truth, but yet our guides are telling us that we live in non-truth. So we have to accept that what we see, how we view our world, is not aligned to how the rest of the universe views what's going on here. And we have to do our homework, as we've said before, and dig deeper to prove or disprove our own belief system.
And most of society has some type of job. That's most of society, not all society, has some type of job. Instead of coming home and fixing dinner and kicking back on your favorite chair or whatever, spend half an hour, at least 20 minutes, on researching a particular event that you heard or saw. Just take a little time out of each day, even 15 minutes. Take a little time out of each day, because you have the whole evening to kick back and watch TV, or you can read a novel, mystery novel, or whatever type of novel. Spend 15 minutes looking up and trying to find the truth. And when you start doing this, you're going to find yourself doing it more and more.
And try to find it within a neutral news source. Somebody
which is very difficult.
Yeah, that it is difficult. Or
lies or emotion, not data. Truth relies on data.
And we have to put the work into our research, as we said, validate what information is being presented to us, which may take time and energy. But we really, in order to get to a place of unity, pervasive unity throughout our society, throughout the world, we have to come together under one truth. And this is part of the problem why we are at odds with each other, why everything is so politicized, is that we don't have one truth. We have more than one truth. So it could be two or more. And once we come to the realization that we've been duped in a lot of cases, and we come to one truth, it is a uniting factor for humanity.
Yeah, so be ready to accept when you do find the truth, and it hurts a little bit, because this is not what we believed for years and years and years. Don't let it push you out of your standing for the truth.
Mhm.
Okay. Back it up. You don't have to go out to your friends and say, I found a real truth. I found a real truth. Hold it to yourself until you find more than enough truth to create your understanding, and you're beginning then to awaken.
And then understand that we are being controlled by the extremely wealthy who manipulate us because they are bored with their own existence, which is kind of sad in itself, right?
It is, but what else are you going to do? You have so much money that you can buy anything you want. You're going to get very bored after a period of time, after a period of years. You're going to try to find something that creates a challenge.
And then realize that we can only move forward as a society to live in truth, to live in peace and harmony, and to have self-sovereignty only if we put truth finding at the forefront.
Excuse me. Peace and harmony. That's an interesting concept for humanity. When most of the entities outside this world follow different laws than what we follow here on Earth, follow universal laws, which helps create harmony within the universe and somewhat peace, maybe not total peace, but more peace than we have here on Earth itself.
I want to finish by saying that in this book, The Augmentation of Man, a Study in Renaissance, there is an entire chapter dedicated to truth and perception. It's one of the biggest topics that our spiritual guides have spent a lot of time in teaching us about truth, about how to recognize truth, how to be the truth warrior, but how we also have so much of our own perceptions that have altered our path when it comes to truth. And so if you're looking for more, you can find it at Amazon.com.
And don't be afraid to have a conversation with those that you think are not telling the truth.
Yes.
Have a conversation and respect each other's ideologies in truth. And when somebody tells you you think it's a lie, just say, I will believe this, what you're telling me, as soon as you back it up with data.
Yeah, and really we have to, as a society, come back to a point where we can have a good discussion.
We have to be able to discuss things
and not shut each other down.
That's right.
By calling them names or
shutting them out, period.
Right. Like we see a lot of these researchers today being shut out and ostracized. That is not going to help humanity in the long run. And what one person's truth is, if they're forcing it on society, it may not be the whole truth. And we have to come to that understanding and have intellectual discourse that respects each person's point of view.
Do not let others play on what they feel is your emotion.
I think too is that, when you talk about groups of people, and this is a good thing to keep in mind, is that everybody within that group has a certain aspect they're looking at of the truth, but they don't have the whole picture. So therefore, when you're talking about different groups of people, whether it's religious groups of people, whether it's sectarians, whether it is political groups of people, everybody's got a particular truth to add to that discussion. But as a humanity, when you're talking about globally, nobody has the whole truth. And we have to really keep that in mind, that we don't have the whole picture. But if we come together in intellectual discourse where each person is looking at it from their angle of view, we might be able to piece this picture together to come to a more complete understanding of the topic we're discussing.
Yeah, and that's so important, is if you want to be a human being.
Thank you for joining us.
We haven't totally lived in truth all of our lives. I know I've lived in lies pretty much all of my life until I found what I'm looking for now, to look for the truth. So we want you to, like I said, get 15 minutes a day to research truth. That's all you need to do. 15 minutes out of 24 hours. Think about it.
Yeah, and this year's going to be a year of it's going to be a roller coaster ride. A lot of truth is supposed to come out. Whether or not we accept it is going to be a whole nother story. Mm-hmm. And that is going to take us down a particular path, whatever the masses determine. So is it going to be another path to try and redirect us to a more perfect truth? We'll see. It depends on how we respond to all this. So peace be with you on your journey to enlightenment. Thank you for joining us and have a good day.
Take care of yourself.